So there I was, quite happily prattling on, and phone, yes, you phone, decides to go, cuts me off. How very rude. Okay, where was I? Yeah, so make yourself some sample tags, clip them all together, tie them all together, and just keep them as a bit of a reference point, so that if you want to go back and go and recreate something that you've done before, at least you've got a little bit of a recipe card of how you go about doing them right on the back. So that was that idea. Okay. The other thing that I used to mark my bottles, because I couldn't think of the word, was I used my micropore. As you know, I do like my micropore, because I can write on it. Just cut myself some strips of that off, stuck it on, used my Sharpie pen and wrote on it. So that's that all labelled up. Get rid of them now. The other thing that I'm going to use is, I'm going to say my baby wipes, but these aren't baby wipes. These are tea tree lightly fragrance face wipes, because I like to care so that it doesn't get wrinkled. I couldn't put my hand on any baby wipes at the time, and I just picked them up. But it's same thing, but they smell lovely. Smell of tea tree oil. But any baby wipes will do you. And the other thing that I use is my kitchen roll, because I want to mop up some of the bits and pieces. And the other thing that I'm going to do as well is my bits of cheesecloth. I'm going to use those to soak up any of the leftover bits of ink. And I've got my heat tool. I've plugged it in this time, look. I brought the plug over so I can now use it instead of you listening to me making the sounds. I thought I did a very good impression of that. Anyway, I digress and I'm being silly. Now I've got down, let me move these out of the way, make myself a bit of room. I've got down my two glass mats. A lot of you have got your lovely Stampin' Up glass mats and your Tonic Studio ones and all the rest of it. I'm a cheapskate. You don't marry a Yorkshireman and not learn these things, you know. So I've got my cutting mat underneath, my cutting mat, that I use for cutting up my fabrics, and I thought, oh, just use that. Get myself a couple of kitchen cutting mats, glass ones. They'll do the job for what I want, because I don't actually use the board for measuring, but if I wanted to I can do, because it's now there underneath. But I've got myself a couple of glass mats down, but you can use your Tim Holtz brown, you know, the brown ones I'm on about, yeah. And then at the back here, you can see I've got a couple of cards to act as a bit of a splashback, because when I start spraying, that spray can go woo all over the place. So I've got those as my splash mats, so that my my windowsill and my mat underneath doesn't get covered in tea and ink and stuff. All right, so let's bring you back down a bit. The other thing that I've got, where did I put it? There it is. Ooh, I had a little panic attack then. Is I've got another spray bottle which has got just tap water in it. It's not hot, it's not cold, just tap water. Now what's special about that? And that comes in handy for when we come to use our distress inks. No, then. So, I am going to ink up these pages. And what I'm going to do, I've just got, as you might have seen in other videos, I've got big windows here, and it's a very busy main road outside. There's a set of traffic lights just down there, and sometimes when the traffic lights are on red, the cars tend to back up. But what people do is they have a nosy in my window, and especially if I'm recording, they're a bit like, ooh, what's that strange woman doing? So there was a woman, she was just biting her nails. Ugh, disgusting habits. But she was looking in the window, so I just waved, and she waved back. Oh well, given her a giggle for the day, hasn't it? Oh dear. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I'm going to ink this paper up. Now I'm going to start off with the tea with water first, and I'm going to leave the paper dry. Excuse me, that's made me chuckle. And I'm just going to lightly spray and make sure you get the edges as well. I can feel that spray coming over here. So I'm just going to lightly spray it with my tea and water, and then I'm going to get me. I've got to make the sound effects now, haven't I, at the same time. And I'm just going to dry that off. Now what I can do is I can blot up some of the excess with my kitchen roll. Sorry, I think I knocked the camera then as well. So if it's taking a bit too long, or you've got a concentrated area of tea and it's leaving too strong a stain, you can just blot off some of the excess. Now, because of the fibres of the paper, sometimes this will just sit on the surface a little bit rather than seeping into the paper. And I've got a piece that I actually wet earlier and I just let it air dry. So that's not quite completely dry, and I'm hoping that you can see it's just stained the paper just a little, so it's only a very soft, subtle background of tea. Now the other thing that I did as well was I then, with my coffee one, because I don't want this completely coffeed, is very slowly, come on, coffee, not water. Let me just spray it a bit there. There we go. Still got water in my tube. So can you see I'm just doing some little splatters. Okay, so you can see there's varying splatters now on my paper, which don't look very pretty at the moment, do they? But again, I'm just going to dry them with my heat tool. Basically I'm just drying quickly the surface of each of those splatters. Now because it's already been wet with the tea, the liquid should start to soak in quite quickly, and I'm just going to now go along and just dab those areas to take away the excess of the coffee. But can you see how it's left now little darker splattery bits? Oh, it's still a bit wet. So it just helps to create a little bit of an aged effect on the paper. Alright, so that was doing the paper dry. This was a piece of paper that I wet earlier. It's dry now because of the foam playing up, so I don't know whether it'll work as well. So let's just give it a quick spray with water, and I'm just going to rub it. I'm going to use the back of my hand only because I might have ink on my fingers. Ink, tea or coffee. So hopefully now the paper will become more absorbent and reactive to the tea. What I'm going to do with this one though is I'm going to use the tea with the shimmer mist. Now as you can see, because I've left it, the shimmery mica powder, there we go, has settled at the bottom. So I'm just going to tap it to frizzle me tea, and what should happen now, just spray a bit off on there, is that when I spray it on here, hopefully the paper has become a little bit more absorbent. But this will depend on the paper that you're using. So, you know, this is all about playing. Trial and error and playing. And again, I'm just going to dry it. I think I need a new piece of kitchen roll. Now the other thing that you'll find is that if you have already wet your paper beforehand, I don't know whether you can see this, here where the fold is, has absorbed the liquid and has gone quite dark, and that's because the fibres are broken up in the paper. Okay, so I'm just gonna blot, take off some of that excess. Now this one's been a bit more blotchy, but I think that that's to do with the spray rather than because I've got the, yeah, see, it's sending out a spurt rather than a spray. So we'll go over it a second time and we'll try and get those places where the tea didn't hit. And do it again. Please join in at any point. And again, I'm just going to dab. In some ways, doing it this way, although it's laborious, it's a bit more interactive, isn't it? Rather than waiting for the oven to do all the work. Okay, now I'm going to do some coffee splodges again. And again, try and hit those areas where there's no ink. Put lots on this one. Okay. Give it a quick zap again. And then get ready with my kitchen roll. Just go and dab off some of that excess, because we don't want to leave defined splotches. As in really solid dark colour. That was very brummy, wasn't it? Colour. I've got a mixture of accents because I was born in Birmingham. I do have a bit of a brummy twang. But when I first moved up here, I met and married a Yorkshireman. So they knows occasionally I talk with Yorkshire accent as well. So sometimes you get a bit of a mishmash of accents from me. Now again, it's not quite dried, but I just want to quickly show you the effect. Okay, so that was the paper that I damped down originally, and that was the paper that I left dry. This one has got more coffee and tea on it than that one did, but it creates a bit of a nice background. Alright, now another way of inking up your papers, get another piece, is to just use your distress inks. Splodge some on your mat or your heat resistant mat. Please don't do it on a piece of plastic, mainly because we're going to be using the heat tool and you don't want to melt that. And then I'm just going to spray some water on top of it, and then I'm going to smush my paper through the ink. press it down a bit. Now it doesn't matter that I've got it on the back. I've put my, flipped my paper over, look, and I'm picking it up on the back because I'm going to ink all of it anyway. And again, I'm just going to dry it quickly. I don't know why I'm doing the noises really. It's a bit daft, isn't it? So that one was with Vintage Photo. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a second layer. Now I could do a second layer with Vintage Photo, but I'm going to do a second layer with walnut stain. Now can you see how the paper's curling up? Don't worry about that, because if I heat it from the back, it should start to curl back down. Of course I can then go and put it underneath a piece of or a couple of books to just weigh it down. Okay, walnut stain. So I'm going to put a generous amount of ink on my glass mat again. Spray it with some water. So what it does is it now breaks that ink up into droplets of ink. And I'm going to smush it again. And the more layers you add, the better effects it gives. And again, I'm just going to sit this down so that the back is going to pick up that excess. Missed a bit there, look. Let's get that bit. Yeah, there we go. But again, now it starts to create that vintage look. Now this particular colourway that I'm doing is too dark for the Country Diary, but it just shows a different kind of effect. Now if you did this on card, you could have this as background for your tags. Then there's a little technique that if you, once it's dry, if you add droplets of water on it, dab it with a piece of kitchen roll, it lifts the ink dye off the paper and gives some splattered effects. But as I say, Mr. Tim has done loads of videos on this type of stuff, so if you want to learn more about those sorts of things, then please go and have a look at Mr. Tim's videos. Okay, so you can see what kind of effect that kind of creates. Now I'm also going to do, but I'm not going to do it now, I'm going to do some card with some wild honey and with some peeled paint. As I say, I'm not going to do that now, but that's going to come up in a future video relating to this particular topic. Alright, but I just wanted to give you some ideas of what you can create with your inks and coffee and tea. Now it's not just about doing the pages for your journal, so you can do it with your tickets, you can do it on envelopes. Oop, someone's trying to escape. You can do it on pieces of graph paper, and then these were the pages of the books that I did earlier with the shimmer in them, and I don't know whether you will get to see the shimmer that's actually within those now because the light isn't brilliant, but when you tilt them you do get that shimmery effect because of the mica that I put in the coffee. This was a piece that I did that I scrunched up dry, unscrunched it, and then inked the glass mat and ran this over, you know, smushed it through the inks, dried it, did another colour, and that's the effect that that creates. That was a piece that I did, and then I went and used some white distress paint and just speckled some white distress paint on it, so it's got speckled backgrounds. But these again I've done on card because they'll come in handy for background tags. This was a piece that I inked up by smushing it through the inks, and then I completely covered it over. So it started off like that, and I completely covered it over with the picket fence distressing to just soften the tones of these, because I felt that those were maybe a touch too strong. I did repair tags, of which these are going to be new in the pop-up shop. So for all the American ladies who've been able to get hold of these, I've now got them in the UK for us. So those will be going in the pop-up shop this next weekend. I've done guest checks, so I've sprayed those, and I did them with the shimmery again, so they've got a bit of shimmer in the background. I did glassine bags, so I sprayed the glassine bags with them. So again, instead of dunking them completely in the coffee and putting them in the oven, I just sprayed them and done exactly what I've just shown you here. I don't know whether you can see maybe the shimmer on that. No, maybe not. I did index cards, so I did a variety of index cards and sprayed some lots, sprayed some just a little bit, so that I've got a nice selection that I can go and utilise when I come to decorate. Now the reason why I've done all these now is so that I'm all ready and organised and ready to go, because some of those things that you've been cutting out, I don't want you to do anything with them yet, because I want them to use to decorate some of these things up. So this is going to be part of one of the videos that I'm going to show you, is how to decorate these things up so that you can use them in your journal. So for me now, I'm going to set you the challenge of dyeing your pages if you haven't got coffee dyed pages that you want to use, or avocado dyed pages that you want to use. Have a go at dyeing all these extra little bits and pieces, and make yourself a selection of all these bits so that they're all ready to use in your journal. All they need is decorating. Okay, so that's the next challenge. I think that's about it. I think I covered everything. Yeah. Of course you could just, let's just have a go at doing one of them. So let's get a bit of kitchen roll. Let's just do this directly onto the card or the paper. So I've got my distress spray stain. If I just, ooh, look how lovely and dark that is. Okay, heat it up a bit. Now this is a concentrated version, liquid version of what's in your pad. So it's going to give a much stronger colour. But look at that speckling here. All that speckly bit. Let's just try putting it on there. Oh, that's much more concentrated, isn't it? And then let's add a bit of water. Oh, so artfully done. Ooh. Again, this will come in handy for one of the future videos. But you can see, look, how much stronger is that colour. Now let's add a little bit of that on. Ooh, maybe I did a bit too much. Oh, by the way, the colour of this is ancient copper. Yeah, I use that one quite a bit. Let's take a bit of that excess off. Ooh, look at that. Can you see the shimmer on that now? Yeah, this is going to come in really handy for something I've got lined up. Hope you can see the shimmer on that. let's do a bit of that. But can you see what I mean by it's just about playing? Give it a play, see what happens. It's only paper at the end of the day. That's created a nice effect. Anyway, leave me to it. I'm going to play. I'm going to finish up playing. Yeah. And it's your turn now. So I'll say goodbye. Yeah, liking that. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to clean my... Look, it's all on my fingers. I'm going to clean up a bit and I'm going to carry on playing for a bit. So have fun, enjoy, just experiment. But just have a go at dyeing up all your bits. Not your personal bits, your paper bits. Whew, that was risque, Carol. Okay. And save these bits as well. And these bits. They come in handy. Right. See you later. Have fun. Ta-ra.